How far have you gotten on the VR side?
How far?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically the VR version goes through HTML5. So we're using the Samsung browser for Gear VR. Also tested a little bit on Oculus, and that's very, very early days. Actually, I'm in love with this format on VR. You know, I want to be able to do it in the car, do it on the train, do it on the boat, wherever I am. I don't want a tethering device, right? So on the VR side, basically we've implemented gamepad support, which wasn't in the Gear VR browser. So we kind of hacked that with using some funny scrolling to game pad conversions, which works really well with directional and then fire buttons, so we can do some funny things. So we looked into a little bit of that, all skunkworks stuff. Then stereoscopical. Basically, we're pushing the browser to the edge, and it always falls over the edge because basically they haven't made that. So that's why we're talking now with everything works. It's really great using the speech integration stuff in the Samsung system, but the delay that I don't think they've scaled to 800,000 devices, so it's 10 seconds round trip for every command, and that's not fun. We're talking to the Samsung guys to find the right person to talk to, and Paul has put us in contact with the guy who leads the Samsung Gear VR browser team. And we'll just see what we can do, but we have some sketches on things they could do quite easily to make it interesting. So it's not only WebGL, it's also manipulating planes in 3D space, because that could be useful.
We're also in the luxury that the startup scene, tech startup scene in Norway is actually quite vibrant. It's now been, Oslo has been recognized as one of the top 6 new booming places. Tel Aviv, Warsaw, Seattle, Toronto, Oslo, here, and I can't remember which one, the last one anymore. But anyways, we're scouting for companies that are located near us who can start looking at this. 3D compression companies and VR companies and AI companies. And actually, some of the companies I have in network with in Hollywood, Los Angeles area also, that are working with something similar to Magic Leap, because there are a lot of that space is extremely interesting, and think about what holographic and 3D imaging can do with education, and so we can be a platform for a lot of these efforts. So
one of our tenants at the office in Stavanger is Holovation. It's a startup that does VR experiences. Most of it is pre-visualization of like apartments and those type of things, but they're also going into experiences. And so through that network, we also are talking to some Unity developers of seeing if we can make a new Unity browser for Gear VR. But that takes time, and that's not our focus.
So if you know anyone with 10 or 20 US million, preferably, we are
good use of it.
we are. I'm pretty sure we have the talent and the management capable of doing multi-pronged execution. Even though that's not easy, I think we could actually pull that off, and that takes a lot of guts and courage and trust. But if the Norwegian government could trust me with $1 billion worth of kit, maybe. So we're looking at various sources of funding. The wrong type of funding into this will have disastrous consequences, because it could limit and say, so, but it's a minority investment, so there's a limit to what damage they could do. But shared vision and shared, and it would be preferable to find someone who really gets it. But that's not easy, because everyone wants an app. Even though there's 5.6 million apps out there today, and more than 10 million projects current in GitHub alone. That's current figures.
Yeah.
And there's 165,000 games indie out there. There's about 6,000 other games out there. You know how many apps come out every month. So I would say if you were looking for, as an investor, for an easy game for an app, chances are you're not going to find it and it's going to fail.
Right.
So maybe this isn't so stupid anyway. It's certainly a risk, but the reward is pretty high. So my gamble, it's a gamble worth taking. And worst case, what can happen? It didn't hit the moon, but we got it up in 30,000 feet, and that's pretty cool too. You know?
Julia, we haven't asked you your initial overview. What do you think?
Not anymore. Flea Cooper.
I mean, I guess like as someone who's not very familiar with Amiga and the Commodore, I might be coming at this entire thing, as an outsider.
Well, exactly, that's what we want.
So like my first, I guess it's just concerns, are because like I actually did try like one of the betas for the Friend OS, and immediately it asked me like to give it access to my file system on my phone.
Which actually was the server file systems.
Okay, well, I mean, like...
Very badly communicated.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that file systems local and so on, and they think that's their device, but it's actually the local one on the server.
We actually work for them. The Russian government.
That's actually exactly, like when you're saying what's the worst thing that could happen, like the worst thing that could happen is like it's kind of, what you guys have is kind of like a botnet in a way, just like a positive one, right? But it operates kind of like a botnet. So what's the worst thing that could happen? I mean, the entire world could, basically fall apart because of your system, because of somebody infiltrating the system and misusing it. And that's a huge concern that I guess people would have.
A lot of those thoughts, we've gone through a lot of those thoughts when thinking about attaching an AI to it. And actually, okay, so let's do some scary scenarios. I don't like you, so I send an AI after you. And then it's running on the internet, on the cloud, and then I have no control. But it has a mission. It needs to take you. And it can replicate. And it uses the internet as a computer. So what choice do you have? You have to send a counter agent. That's the only choice. And how does that escalate? So a lot of this goes into how we're thinking about dealing with this. And so basically, the first thing was, Star Wars, fear leads to anger, and then anger leads to the dark side and all that stuff, right? So don't let yourself be guided by fear. First one, and then you can do the other one, which is a cliche. Somebody else is gonna do it, right? The idea has already been manifest, so somebody else can do it. I believe that everybody should have an AI in their pocket, and instead of just some people having AI. This system would be able to distribute AI to everybody. And you could have multiple AIs and so on. Still a bit bigger picture and so on, but we believe that it would also allow you to have your own encrypted domains on the net. Today they can surveillance your computer through a brick wall with a device. You don't need to be connected to the internet. So the security you get online could be better than the stuff you have on an offline computer. It's just to get, and I like what they're doing with DeepMind, with creating new algorithms, new encryption algorithms with AI so that it's stronger than what a human can crack. But you need an interface to it. So Friend is an interface to a supercomputer the size of the planet, potentially available to everyone, that could give people the opportunity to protect every individual, one person at a time, who gets access. But I talked to you guys. Of course, know Bryce Nesbitt, right?
Yeah.
So we had a conversation the day before yesterday at his in Berkeley. He's a pessimist when it comes to on AI and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know what to tell his kids. He doesn't know if he should tell them to get an education in IT, because that will be like taking education to be a janitor in the future, because everybody's going to be a programmer.
Well, he's a pessimist, isn't he?
But anyhow, so what he says is very interesting, because AI is emerging, and you have the connectivity and everything. So this is the type of power an individual would have to be protected. Because in the future you have segregation, you have technological segregation, you have the haves and the don't, and the not-haves. The not-haves have no access to cloning themselves in AI, so that 15 versions of themselves can take the text-based meetings with all their suppliers, and so they will go on the bottom of society asking for services further up. So if you can remove, you ask for the questions. So if you're going to have any chance whatsoever of giving an equal play field, you cannot base yourself on the power of a single device to protect yourself. You need to have access to the cloud as an individual. And I think, so the answer to your question is that the cloud is dangerous anyway, and if you don't have access to controlling it, you're weak. And so through this system, you can get powerful. Even though that's it's a scary answer, isn't it?
But it's a very important thing you're saying there, because one of the reasons also for doing this is, hello America, consumerism is bad. Users is good.
Yeah.
It's about enablement, and it's about actually influencing your own life and not becoming just a simple consumer. And in order to, yeah, but it is. You look at all the other silos.
Yeah.
But we're not offering a silo. We're offering a new dimension, if you like, a different paradigm, where different gravity laws apply, that are democratic.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, democracy as it is today, we can discuss whether it functions or if it's about to be stalemated. And I'm not saying we are going there. We're not crusaders in it, but I'm saying we're seeing a future where people need to be enabled more, and they need to participate more in how society is going to become.
Right.
And I'm not saying we're going to vote every Friday or whatever, but it's obvious that if you let the market forces push you too far into consumerism, you will end up in this little what do you call it, cradle, eating red pills, and you would know what the real world is out there, and there will be less than 50 million people out there who know the difference between 0 and 1 and how to deploy that. And that's not very democratic. That's actually very scary. And if you look at youth today, we need to invite people to care about how things are made, not necessarily in old code languages. François Lyonnais, he's looking at coding for kids, and how can you talk to the computer, to the machine, in a more intelligent fashion, even though you don't have this user barrier. I can play a bit of piano, but I never learned notes.
Right.
That was stupid. You see the analogy?
Yeah.
So users, that's a good thing. It's enabled people. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the counter to that is, like, if we just look at this election right now, right? No, I mean, if you think about it, this election right now is the entire reason why we're even in this situation right now is because there's a huge user base, as you want to call it, a huge popular support base for basically a tyrant, and it's like, but we are enabling. We're giving him the same tools that we're giving pretty much anyone else, and it's like, it's not just about offering the tools. It's also about offering some form of curation or some form of law. You know.
Well, and that's but it is a different discussion, which we at some point need to have a bear to do well.
Yeah, I love that. I love that discussion
A
actually.
little too much. To
Yeah.
quote someone else we all know and love, sociology.
Yeah, yeah.
You know who I mean?
No, I'd love to do the conversation afterwards because we've gone there many times.
But yeah, to someone from my perspective, it's very interesting.
Yes.
I have some people I want to, introduce to it. And, I think like Jeff mentioned, it's just a lot of these old machines out there that still exist that are going to keep being, and from being sort of a hardware guy, to me, that's my way of thinking. You had your way of looking at it, but
Low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, and
Just go for it.
Yeah.
They'll figure it out later.
Exactly.
After they say yes.
Exactly.
right,
The cobalt extraction, we're talking to Heirloom,
right.
the guys who spun off from Micro Focus.
Mm-hmm.
They do Java extraction of cobalt, and they don't have a face. We have. So
Right.
let's handshake and
Right.
So yes, and that's what the investors love, and that's why these type of vertical that type of integration is yes. Thank you. But anyone else want to throw in any whatever before we go and get a beer?
I'm blood sugar.
First of all, I sincerely thank you for. I mean, we're amazed that first of all you guys have come to see us. Particularly given the standing that you guys have, and ladies, I'm sorry, in the technology community. So we're thrilled to bits that you've come here. We hope that you're taking something away with you that is of value in whatever format. It's pretty obvious that we are very passionate about what we've got here. We think it's a special. The fact that I'm involved is because I think it was spawned from the spirit of the Amiga, and I think maybe you can even see some of that. But more important than that, this, in our opinion, this will change history. This is history in the making, and a lot of things will change as a result of this. So yeah, please, in your beds at night or wherever it is, and the brain's working away, if you come up with anything that you think might be of value to us, of use to us, or to a value and use to other people, and please just get in touch, because we are completely two-way. This whole thing is two-way. So yeah, thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. It's been great. Thank you a lot, ladies and gentlemen.